Alright, Brett Keane Part 2. And yes, these are kind of leading somewhere, no doubt, these questions. And I will try to maintain my composure and take it like a man, so to speak. You know, suffer the insufferable, Christian. What is the I don't know. There's probably some kind of term for that. The maneuvering, the gameplay of what you think we're monkeys or something like that. Anyway, I'd link to Brett's channel, but I just really can't. I can't link to something with God in the title, in any kind of honest way. So fuck that. Just look for Brett Keane. Type it into the search. You'll find him.
Do you believe that mocking mentally ill or disabled people is beneficial or positive?
It depends. If they're President of the United States, yes. Mock the hell out of them. I mean, mock them, mock them, mock them, mock them, mock them. Mock them, mock them, mock them, mock them, mock them, mock them. You can't mock them enough. And that's really what the world has turned into. There are absolute imbeciles. I mean, you could almost argue the entire Republican primary was just imbecile after imbecile after imbecile. And, the king of the imbeciles of the bunch was their nominee, and he became president of the United States, and he's a fucking imbecile and a retard, and he doesn't understand anything about anything. And to demonstrate, he had an opinion, right? He's an old man, 60-something, and he had this opinion about torture being a great thing, and then somebody tells him a little silly story about, well, it works just as good to give somebody cigarettes and a beer. And he changes his mind. Torture's bad. Okay, yeah, no, let's not do torture. We'll just do the beer cigarette thing instead. I'm sorry, that's a retard. That's a fucking imbecile. No doubt about it. So yes, sometimes you have to mock them because they're driving the bus, and you got to point out, you don't know how to fucking drive. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. Try not to do that in this video. So yeah, depends on their position. Depends on what the fucking retard is doing.
Can anything good happen of it?
Yes, you can get them to stop being arrogant retards. Sometimes you have to mock a retard, because sometimes retards will keep thinking, I'm a very good driver. I'm a very good driver. I know how to drive very good. Because I was a very good driver. I know how to do chess and things. I can count how many toothpicks around the floor. I can do all kinds of stuff. I'm very talented. And they're not very good drivers. They're shitty drivers. Yeah, they're very good toothpick counters, but they're not very good drivers. So sometimes you have to mock them with the truth and point out, no, you're a fucking retard. But, you don't go picking on them for no good reason. But, there's this other argument that we're not allowed to use the word retard as a mocking tool. And yes, it'd probably be best if we didn't use things like calling a man gay, okay, or calling a smart person retarded. But yeah, this is part of the rhetoric, unfortunately. This is what, we're still animals, and we sometimes pick up rocks and throw them. And that's, it's not a good idea. So yeah, in principle, I'd say yes. Let's be all politically correct and all that kind of stuff. In principle. And in practice, just every now and then do this. What I just did. Give yourself a little speech and say, okay, Gary, don't say that word. I'll try to do better.
In the movie Transcendence, you're uploaded, your mind is put into a machine. Now let's say during the upload, your mind is disconnected. A lot of the memories that you had, they're lost.
And it's not me no more. So, yeah, it's somebody else. Gar. It's Gar, because there's no Uri. He lost the Uri part, so now it's just Gar. Different guy, kind of.
The only thing that you know is that you exist. For some reason, you're sentient, and you're inside of the machine.
Oh, dear. It's like birth all over again. Ooh, yuck.
But you don't know what a fucking machine is, and you don't know how you got there. You find yourself in a dark room. How would you go about figuring out if you were?
I just start pissing on everything. It's a good way to test anything, right? It's just to piss on it and see what it does. I used to piss on electrical outlets. Yeah, it's fun.
A designed product, or be able to establish that you were not designed?
Whatever. I don't know if I'd really give a fuck. I would just be saying if I'm a feeling organism, what I did when I landed on Earth was, yeah, you go start picking stuff up and say, well, what's this shit? What does this do? What does that do? How is this helpful? What hurts me? What feels good? You know. I have to say that it occurred to me pretty quickly that I have a penis and it's kind of fun. So I did waste about half of my life, literally, at least half of it. Just, turning on the TV, so to speak.
When we sleep, where do we go?
It's another kind of consciousness, one where there aren't the same kind of rules, where reality is kind of suspended, and you're allowed to have conversations with dead people, and you're allowed to do all kinds of stuff that doesn't make any sense. You get killed, and you're not dead. You get decapitated, and your head still... Hey, what happens next? How do I get anywhere? And then little arms pop out of your neck or something. You start walking with your little decapitated head. I mean, all kinds of wacky shit happens. But it's still shit. That's the key word. Wacky, real, fake, it doesn't matter. It's all shit.
Do you believe that necrophilia should be legal?
In principle, you say, sure, what the hell? You can't hurt a dead guy. But, as a social contract thing, it sort of makes us uncomfortable to think we can't even guarantee that once we could die with a little bit of dignity and not have some guy, fucking us, it does present a lack of dignity. And it's almost like, well, why would we placate such extravagant need? Okay, if you need to fuck dead people, then maybe you're the problem. Not the dead people resisting your advances, but maybe you're the problem. I mean, we don't really need necrophiliacs, do we? Are they really important? So I guess I would argue that if Albert Einstein really needed to fuck the dead, well, okay, it's probably okay. Or the Salk guy, the Salk vaccine or something. Somebody who's useful. If they need to fuck dead people, okay, I'll sign up. He can fuck me when I'm dead. But I'm not going to do it just for some asshole who's got a jerky perversion. Fuck that. It's unnecessary silliness.
Don't have any souls and we're nothing but vessels, we're nothing but dead weight. What would it matter if our bodies are given off to...
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it's just a thing where we have a self-perception of our own life and our own perception of value, and those are all distorted perceptions. That's just the way it is. You can't undo that. We can, as living things, we can sort of feel the worms eating us when we're dead, and we don't like that sense. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but that's just because it's hard for us to imagine ourselves dead. I mean, being dead is not being, and it's just hard to imagine not being. So, I mean, it's not that complicated. It's just psychology, sure, but it's sort of important psychology. It's not the kind of psychology you're going to pull out of people's brains easily and make them comfortable with some kind of, well, why can't we desecrate you after you're dead? Well, because I had some sort of sense that my life had more meaning than that.
People who like to fuck the dead. My next question for you is, where do you think memories and imagination and creativity came from?
I thought he was actually going somewhere meaningful, right? But you're almost like, well, what the hell does this have to do with religion, right? Fucking the dead. That wasn't even in the Bible, I don't think. I don't think they even brought it up. I don't think they figured it was a problem they really had to worry about. I mean, I think it was fucking the sheep was probably a bigger issue. Fucking camels and stuff. A lot more of those around. Alright, so what did he ask? Who do you think would win, Batman or Superman? No, some other stupid question. Alright, we'll back up. Let's get the end of it anyway.
Imagination and creativity came from.
Yes, but just there is no such thing as creativity in a sense, right? All invention is the byproduct of cause and effect, and so that's the interesting thing about life is that I didn't create me. You people did. You see, and in a sense, I created you. And so, as much as people are doing this thing where they talk about, "Oh, what an asshole you are," that's almost bad on me. Because you're sort of a reflection of the environment we're creating that made you. And I'm a byproduct of the environment that made me. So I was sort of made by, and you can be made in a negative way. Obviously, you can be made a freedom fighter because you were a slave. So it was a negative force that created you, gave you your creativity or your inspiration. And I guess I would argue that I'm a reflection of a septic and diseased world. I'm the natural mold that's going to come to the rescue. Yeah, the penicillin.
Why would nature even create something like this if it's an unguided process?
Nature doesn't, again, like I said before, it's not, it's processes. And if you want to make it one process, that's okay, but it really doesn't, it isn't in any kind of form like that. It's in segmentable. You can see the different stages. You can't have one without the foundational steps. So some of them are things that require a stage to to create a you have to have abiogenesis before you can have abiogenesis. I mean mitosis, or before you can have sexual reproduction. Before you have to have the stages before you can get to different. You have to have plateaus to build on. So those are different processes, and each process creates a new platform to build on, just as we sort of step beyond natural evolution in the sense of survival of the fittest by the physical definition. When we acquired language and the ability to communicate and take care of each other for rational reasons and to wear a condom. I mean, these were clear violations of natural function because they made sense and they were more rational than natural function.
That is not sentient itself. Can you?
Well, again, you want to say that sentience is intelligence. I don't think those two go together necessarily. As a requirement. I would argue for evolution it does work that way. But obviously, I don't think. I think it's unintelligent design. Nature. I don't think it's intelligent design. It's crude and stupid. It's fucking retarded. Nature's really dumb. Nature kills, dozens perhaps of children for every adult created. That doesn't sound like intelligent design. That sounds like fucktard.
Explain why it is that there is mourning and grief and
well, those are most of those are emotional ties and connections, and obviously we're social animals. Some animals grieve. Lots of mammals get very distressed if something happens to their children, or children get distressed if something happens to their parents and siblings and all of that. So it depends on the animal. Some mammals are very social, some aren't. And so, yes, you'll have an expression of emotion on the ones that are social animals because it's emotion that bonds them together. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that animals care for each other. My only argument is they do it in this bigoted manner, this nepotistic manner, this nationalistic manner, this matter that has nothing to do with the properties of the things they're relating to. It just has to do with which ones live next door, or which ones I'm familiarly related to. And that shouldn't be relevant. In an ideal sense, we should associate or be supportive of those things that are supportive of the world we want to live in.
Evolution. Why the emotion and feeling of suffering even exist in the first place?
Well, it's a powerful bonding tool. So you're asking me why is it more advantageous to be a gang than to be an individual? That's all you're asking, right? I mean, you can see it in all the predatory animals that are very successful because they form packs or gangs, lions and wolves, and you go on down the list, and they're more powerful as for the environment they live in, to exploit the environment they live in as a gang. Sometimes it's a disadvantage because then you end up having a home, you end up having a place where you can be attacked and that kind of, so you end up with some vulnerabilities. But obviously for many organisms, herd works powerfully, and the herd has to be bound with some kind of glue, and the glue is these emotions of attachment and dependency.
I mean, there are some creatures out there, whenever their child or their sibling or part of their family dies, they don't even give a shit. They just keep on moving along like nothing ever even happened. There's some creatures out there that
well, I'm just saying that you have to, they're most of them, even pretty, you talk about possums or something, you know, they take care of their young and they'll defend them. But yeah, and all animals in nature, they can't waste time grieving. They live in a real world where there's real things out to get them, and they really can't waste a lot of time, you know, getting depressed and mopey. It's not a good survival strategy. So yeah, they have to cut it off. But you know, clearly the other higher mammals, the simians and the elephants and lots of other animals, extensive rituals will be performed when one of their members dies or is in distress. They'll be quite upset.
don't have that mechanism to give a damn or have empathy. So why do you think it is that we have the mechanism? Why do you think we developed it out of all these different creatures, including insects, mammals, animals, all the way down the line?
Well, this is just a very sloppy, reckless question on your part. You're being too inspecific. Like I said, you can find organisms living in all kinds of lifestyles. You can find organisms that are slaves to hierarchy and animals that aren't. So it's, you know, you're just cheating the truth with this gameplay. We know that all the higher mammals have lots of they have a very complex emotional life. That's why dogs can live with people. It's because they're complex emotional animals. It's quite obvious.
It only seems like it's in the primates and maybe a few mammals out there in the sea that seem to give a shit.
Well, that's your seam. I just say that's because you're really fucking ignorant. There's animals in the middle of the Arctic, yaks, and they'll huddle around together around an injured member of their pack and try to protect him from the natural process of, you know, kill the weak. So again, I just think you're ignorant and you're wrong and you're stupid, and you know, this is a very lazy, typically Christian, very lazy argument.
All right. If we are nothing more than a ghost in a machine, nothing more than a machine, then
we're not a ghost in anything, but we are robots. We're programmed by our environment. You're totally owned by the generation you're born in, by the knowledge base of that generation, by the TV shows you watch, by the books you read, by the exposure you've had. That defines you. You're a reaction to those actions that took place. And if you can't understand that, or you have a problem with that, you have a problem thinking clearly.
why can't we be fixed? If somebody's biological shit's breaking down on a surgery table, why is it that we can't just go in there and repair it if there is no soul?
Well, we can. I don't even know what you're talking about. You know, every day they gain more knowledge about the function, so unfortunately that knowledge will lead to all kinds of the idea where you take a pill and you'll be a happy citizen. You know, have happy citizen pills. can be quite dangerous when we start deciding what good thoughts and bad thoughts are, in any kind of way beyond obligating each other to make arguments. If we don't have to argue anymore, we just, chemically make the kind of people we want.
All right, the next question for you is, why do you think it is that if we are in the primate family, we can't reproduce? Joseph Stalin, the atheist dictator, actually had scientists attempt to do an experiment which involved...
Well, it's because we actually did this chromosome changing thing. So it's another thing where, your Christians don't pay much attention. Our chromosomes are very much alike in the sense of what's on them, but the number actually changed. So we have an unsimilar number of chromosomes, and that's a critical difference to speciation. So you can change stuff on chromosomes, and it'll still work out most of the time if the number of chromosomes match. But once the number of chromosomes don't match, then you're in for some trouble, because you got a whole bunch of stuff that'll never be part. It has to combine with something, or there's no it's just going to be missing pieces, and it's unlikely there'll be a strand of DNA that you could live without. So if you can't match them up number for number, it just ain't going to work.
Sex with monkeys, with creatures that were in the primate family. He believed that because there was some kind of genetic family there, that there could be reproduction. Why do you think that it wasn't compatible for her?
Yeah, well, again, I don't want to go into complex biology here, but yeah, there's lots of ways that animals become incompatible. There can be physical incompatibilities, like, lions and tigers can reproduce, but there's some physical incompatibilities. It's not going to happen easily. You still have to force the issue. So sometimes it's a physical barrier, and the animals don't have the same attractiveness or the same mating rituals or something else, and that's why they become incompatible. Their penis gets too short. Lots of different things can happen physically that make it impossible. And then there's the chemical problem, where you end up evolving, and there's enough chemical differences where the sperm won't be able to survive, or the eggs can't tolerate the chemistry of the sperm or something else, blah, blah, blah. Lots of reasons that it can have to break down chemically. And then ultimately there's this idea that you have to be able to combine the chromosomes. And like I said, in humans, this change took place, and where the number of chromosomes changed, they split. And that, they split or they fused? They split, I guess. Maybe it was a fuse. I don't remember. But the point is that, but it's not uncommon. I mean, that's been happening for billions of years. I mean, organisms much lower on the evolutionary tree have many more DNA molecules in their DNA profile. They could have thousands, or I think some have millions, and of little strands. I don't know about millions. Thousands anyway. And so it's the number of strands is just another way of organizing the DNA. So it happens all the time where organisms evolve and their DNA changes, where now they're incompatible with their old profile, the old species.
All right. My next question for you is, how can evolution actually be true whenever we have genetic entropy, the breaking down and disorder and chaos of information?
Well, that's another, those arguments are physics arguments, and again, that one's just, it has an obvious answer. Closed systems can have either kind of entropy for a period of time. So entropy has to do with an overall system. But there can be elements inside of something that's losing entropy. It can be getting higher in entropy. By the surface of a wall where stuff is bouncing off of, there could be higher entropy. So it's not a meaningful statement. So the fact that on the planet Earth there can be increased complexity in a universe that's getting less complex is not unreasonable. Physics allows that. It's not a paradox.
I'll leave you with a few of these questions so far to see what your answers might be.
Yeah, why, you want to tell me what God was doing forever before he had the brilliant idea of creating the universe? What exactly was he doing forever? Forever. All by himself, forever. What was he doing? Forever. All by himself. Just with his own little thoughts. What was he thinking forever? Taking the longest shit in the history of history? What's he doing forever? Okay. Obviously wasn't learning much about making creations, right? Because he fucked it up like 4 times and had to have a new covenant. Had to keep rewriting the contract. So obviously he didn't go to like law school and learn contract law. So he kept breaking those. Didn't learn anything about empathy or decency, right? Because punishing children for the crimes of the parent, that's kind of ugly, isn't it? I mean, I could figure out that was a bad idea when I was just a little tiny kid. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, fuck you and this fucking fairy tale, but whatever. Fuck you, fairy taleist. You're a fairy taleist. You're a silly person. And yes, I've answered your questions, but it's just obnoxious for you to think you've somehow demonstrated that a god must have existed to make penises and vaginas. I don't think so. And assholes. Yeah, right there. Right there. Yeah. God's got to be an idiot. Anyway, till next time. And such. No, I should wait for the outro or something, right? Let's see what he does.
If it's simply fuck you, I don't care, then I guess I won't give you any more questions or waste my time on you anymore.
Okay.
Because apparently you find yourself too intelligent to answer any question.
Yeah, well, I'm not. But yeah, just be a little careful, like I say. If you're gonna get pious, or something. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. It's okay. Yeah, this was I mean, you didn't go way over the line or anything. I'm just, like I said, I just find it kind of obnoxious, and ask yourself a couple of questions about how we live in such a world of such brutal unfairness. And how can you justify a God that just never shows up to save the day, ever?
No point in going through this effort and work to have any kind of conversation with you. All right. God bless.
Yeah, well, I hope the devil eats your nuts. Is that the counter argument or something? Get what nature intends. Gee, I don't really want to wish that on you. Yeah, I mean, I got no good news. I mean, I wish I could just say, everything's going to be alright. No, I can't really do that. No, it's going to suck. You're going to get sick and die. I'm going to get sick and die. It sucks. Anyway, until next time. Well, the dying part, it's the sick part, It's the fact that you have to die. It's not being dead that's so, ooh, how horrible. It's the whole getting there. The trip sucks. Alright, till next time.